Hello, I'm Desiree A McNair Briellards. I live in Southland Rehabilitation Center in Norwalk, California, USA. The reason why I'm making videos is because when I was years back, about 15 years back, I made some albums, and my husband, Randall Briellards, took me to Hollywood, and he had me get with LaFace Records, and I supposedly became Shanice. But the thing is, I'm having a problem. I almost died. I had stigma or blood sickness, and then I was, after being 6 days in the hospital, the doctor told me, did I want to come here to this other place he owns, which is Southland, to get to learn how to walk again, because I didn't know how to walk. And I still don't know how to walk. I'm still having trouble. I've been here for almost 3 years. Um, it costs $375 a day. 370, not three, three, 300, 35, $37 a day. To me, that's a lot of money. My mother, the President Obama told me, he said, Desiree, he called me when I was living in Harborview House. He said, Desiree, being the President of the United States, can I talk to you? I said, sure. He said, you have two bank accounts, do you not? I said, yes, I do. He says, well, how did you get all that money? And I had a lot of money in the banks because I'm the one where people saw in their dreams, they saw diamonds. I looked out of Downey Community Health Center and I saw diamonds on a field heaping up to the sky and on like a football field as big as a room with diamonds, little diamonds about this size, all over the whole field and leaping up into the sky. And a voice told me, it said, Desiree, I'm giving these to you. He said, this is, now let's see what she does with them. So I told my dad about it. This is when he was alive. My dad was supposedly Isaac Hayes, but my mother's now telling me that he's not Isaac Hayes, and she's trying to act like I'm mentally ill. I really don't feel I'm mentally ill. They say that's what happens when you're paranoid schizophrenic. Well, I behave like a regular, normal person, except I tell some things that people don't believe in because they don't believe God can do anything. But I know He can. And I know that He helped me. He helps me because I know how to pray to Him and ask Him to help me. And He does help me because I'm humble. At least I try and be humble. And when I went to the Hollywood, we did an album called Every Woman's Dreams, and also called Shanice. When I Close My Eyes is a hit single, and Shanice was another album, I think. And I had remembered being Shanice when I was younger, but I just can't remember everything anymore because the woman that when I was at Harborview House, she told me she cast a spell on me. In Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 10 through 13, it talks about things that God detests, that Jehovah detests. And one of the things is spellbounding. Well, that's what she did on me. She spellbound me, and she makes me go through what she wants me to go through. Why would God let it happen? Because He's showing her and showing others that He can do anything. You cannot override His power. He's showing you this so that He can try and get you over to serve Him instead of the devil or yourself, which is just hurting yourself, which is what the devil wants. The devil's mad because he's going to lose his life because he's the one that caused Adam and Eve to turn away from God, and they died from being disobedient. But he didn't care. He just wanted to be a God, so that's why he did that. But anyway, what I was going to say was, I have about trillions and trillions of dollars in the bank. I've been having trouble with a woman that I knew growing up. She found out I had trillions of dollars in the bank because I asked God to put some of those diamonds in the bank. And when I was living in Inglewood, I went to this jewelry shop, and I took one jewel. I asked Jehovah to put one jewel on me, and I put the jewel in. I was in the jewelry store, and the jewel came, and I got the jewel, and I said, "How much is this jewel?" And he said, "Where did you find this jewel?" I said, "It was off of a football field that Jehovah gave me." And he said, then my brother took it and he said, Desiree, he says, I'll do something with it or something like that. My little brother, 13 years younger than me. He doesn't look like he's 13 years younger than me, but he is. And he did something with that diamond, but I don't worry about it because it was worth a lot of money. But I don't worry about it because I have so many diamonds on that field that all I have to do is ask Jehovah to put the diamonds in me or put the diamonds on in the bank, and I can handle it when I ask God to give have people buy it or to give me money that's worth that much or gold. And I have children, many children, not all of them are the same husband from the same man, but that's another story. I talked about it on Facebook all the time under Desiree A McNair Briellards. I talk about my life, and I talk about God, and I talk about other things too. But anyway, I was saying that the reason why I make videos is because I'm not doing anything with my singing voice because my voice, I'm allergic to fish and seafood. And so one time this guy gave me fish. He gave me imitation crab. I thought I could eat it. I tried eating it. He had lobster in there, and it made my whole throat swell up. I get swelled up in the throat, and I can't breathe. I have to drink milk or I have to do something to make the swelling go down. And that's exactly what happened. And I asked him, I said, why did you try and kill me? You knew I was allergic to fish. And he said, because you wouldn't sleep with me. And I've been married to Michael Jackson from 1983 to 2007. And then my dad, when he was alive, he told me, he said, he's not taking care of you. He's ignoring you. He said, well, we'll divorce him and we'll see who you marry. So then I divorced him. And at the same time I saw him in Norwalk courthouse, my friend that was working there, Sister Washington, she goes, Desiree, you can't marry him because you're married to Michael Jackson. And she said it all over the whole intercom. And people heard it, and my husband that was there, he was embarrassed. But it turns out that from somewhere, some Bible that I read, it said the most popular performer be quiet. And Michael did not be quiet, so he ended up dead. James Brown, Marilyn Monroe, Elvis Presley, Rick James, all those people that got worshipped are dead because they didn't stop being quiet after doing things that they were worshipped too much, and God didn't like it. He gets jealous. He knows that he's the one that deserves the worship for everything he's done for us. He's the one that came up with all the good things we have, sex, everything, food, feeling, clothing, such taste, looks, eyes, everything we have, he came up with. The work he came up with, the ideals he came up with before we were even before we even thought to ask him for anything. He came up with those things because he loves us and he wants us to have them. And if you study with Jehovah's Witnesses, it'll explain why they're suffering today, and it'll explain why Jesus had to die for our sins and everything. But I can't get into that now. It's too long. But anyway, I have like 27 kids that came from my womb. I'm spreading now. I remember when I was like 15 years ago, I was very straight up and down. Not boyfriend, my cousin, my second cousin is Snoop Doggy Dogg, from what I believe. My first cousin is Mariah Carey, from what I believe. If she's baby Donna Schultz, because that's who my mother's cousin, my mother's auntie is. My mother's sister is Sherry Schultz, and she has children. And Donna, Lauren, Donna, Donald, and Erica, and some other people now. She's had children. We don't keep up with them too much. We're not that close to them. We've been out here in California ever since I was 3 years old. My sister now lives in New York. She went back there to live when she turned 18, and it's been years now. We're grown. We're not even young adults. We're getting toward old. My mother's still alive. I pray that my mother stay alive, even though she's done things that really makes me scared of her sometimes. She knows how she has powers, and she has powers because I asked God, because she hurt me so bad. Her and my brother hurt me so bad physically one time that I asked God, when I got away from her, I asked him to make her see the way I was living without her, so that she would not hate me, so that she would love me. And I asked her to see that. And her dad, my dad, her aunties, which are dead now, her aunties, my grandma, her, and my dad, to see my life as I was growing up. And they knew I was going to have the diamonds. They knew. So they kept tabs on me. They found ways to make me look like I was mentally ill. They made me look like I was trying to kill myself. And that was, at the time, that was a law against trying to kill yourself. So your parents had to take control of you. And they had to handle your money, handle you. And when they said that you looked like you were about to kill yourself, you would have to go to the hospital. You had to have a psychiatrist. And because I was in the hospital, one time I asked Jehovah through Jesus Christ's name to make fire come out of my mouth so I could blow a hole in the door, crawl through the door and get out, because I didn't want to be in the mental ward that I was in. And that's exactly what happened. And then my mother had told me, she said, Desiree, ask God to get you out of there. She knew that you could do that. And my teeth are not right because I have diabetes. And when I was, many people have been trying to take my money and everything. They figure they can work on a Jehovah's Witness. The Jehovah's Witness, you can just run all over Jehovah's Witnesses. And that's not true all the time. But she put some kind of something on my tooth. That she said, Desiree, she said, stars have to be perfect. She said, you. I said, all I do is, all my teeth are straight, and all I did was had some home molars pulled. But this other woman that worked there, named Florence, she worked there. She said, get her ready for dentures. I said, I don't want dentures. I said, I want to get my teeth fixed. And she didn't listen to me. They did things, and they did things that were very, very against the law, and they didn't have sympathy for me. Even though there were some people that came there, there was O'Shea, there was people from Blackstreet, there was a lot of different men that I asked God to. Well, this woman that had a spell on me, she wanted to see who she wanted for her own self. She wanted to see what man she wanted for herself. So she was testing through me to see who she wanted, who she thought was the best. And that's why she made me sleep around with a lot of different men. And they got to know, they knew, they liked me. A lot of them loved me. And we went out into the vicinities of the earth, where I had outside the vicinities of the earth in outer space. We were able to breathe out in outer space, because that was a part of the miracle too that I asked God to have, that she asked God to have happen for me. And then the men came down, and they were all in the lobby of Harborview House, and they were looking around. They saying, "What's he doing here?" And I said, "Oh, I slept with all." And they said, "You're a whore. You're a whore." And I said, "No, I'm not a whore. I'm not asking for any money. Matter of fact, I'm giving money to all of you guys. All of them I gave to them. I made a movie. I had Jehovah go back and look in my mind and make the movie of my life from since I was little, when I was around Michael. I had a baby with Michael Jackson when I was 6 years old. And now they're just now coming out. They came out on the phone and showed people, other white girls that had babies were around 6 and 8 and 9 and 15 years old and 13 years old. And they hadn't said that before, but they brought it out later on. I think Michael, who had powers too, spellbounding powers, he actually made it where no one knew that I had his child. And no one knew I was married to him too. And he wanted to do what he wanted to do. He wanted to be famous or whatever. Or maybe somebody was just having a spell on him to make him do that. I don't know. But there's a lot of questions I have in my life. But there's still, when I start telling, I love this woman named Denise. I forgot her last name. But Denise, that was a nurse at Harborview House. She used to listen to me and tell her my business all the time. And that made me... It made me feel worth something, because my mother, she'd hang the phone up in my face and she wouldn't listen. She told me she thought I was getting mentally ill when I turned 16 because when I was 16, that's when Michael came to my my English comprehension class that was full of from freshman to senior. And I was good at reading and comprehension before I got stabbed in the eyes with acupuncture needles. And then when they did that, they made me, also one of my children beat me up. So I have cataracts. I have to get cataract surgery. And the reason why I haven't gotten it, I put it off, is because I have to get in this bed, and this bed makes me stressful. I have to do, with my weight, I'm heavy now, very heavy. And with my weight, I had to get into the bed, and the bed was like, for me to get into it, it takes a lot of stress. And you can't do that when you after the surgery or you'll go blind. So they told me, they said you can't do exercise for 2 whole weeks. And so you can't do it. If you're gonna exercise, don't get the surgery. So that's what I was doing. I wasn't getting the surgery because of that. And I talk to people on Facebook. I love talking to the messengers and stuff. I haven't had this many friends in a long time, in a very long time, because when my mother was young, she had a lot of Jehovah's Witness friends, and they would come over to the house. We'd do things. My dad let that happen. He was sweet. He let that happen, but he would curse her out in a minute because she'd make him mad. She was fussing at him. She's the type of woman that says her mind, and even though she's supposed to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses, she would sin that way. She wouldn't she wouldn't be acting discreet. She'd tell him what she wanted, and she'd fuss at him. So he'd curse her out, but they ended up getting back together again, and they got back together again and had my little brother, when I was 13, where I was pregnant, and they had my little brother when I was 13. I know she was in the hospital. She had him, and I had a baby too, I think around that time, but I can't keep up with my children or their birth dates because my dad took them away from me. Because the reason why he did that is because when I was a little girl, there was this girl named Yolanda. I think Yolanda Mosley did this. I believe she was telling me to stick a needle in this little boy, this baby that was in a crib, stick the needle in his sack. And he had a big sack. He had big sacks even though he was little. And I said, I said, why do you want me to, leave me alone? Why do you want me to do that? And she kept tempting me and said, you just want to hurt him. You want to sleep with him. You blah, blah, blah. And so I did it because I didn't know anything about sex. And I stuck the needle in a little tiny pinch in his little sack. And then he started to say, I feel like I'm dying. And then I said, oh my God, you talk. And then his mother found out and came, and she told me, she said, he will never be able to have a child ever because of you, Desiree. I didn't believe her because I didn't believe I had hurt him that bad, but I didn't want to hurt him. I just wanted her to get off from bothering me. My mother came, and they talked to her, and they said, well, Desiree's not going to raise any of her kids. She already has a kid. She's not going to raise any of her kids. And so that's what happened. Every child that I have, they took away from me. I had a child from the artist known as Prince. I had 5 children from Michael. I had President Clinton's child. I had a child from a guy named Bernard Campbell. I had a child from an Egyptian lover. I had a child from Randall. I had a child from Nevin. I had a child from a guy named Mel Jackson, I believe. And plus I had children where I asked God to take the sperm from certain men and put them inside of me and get me pregnant without having intercourse. So I had 8 children like that. And I mean, I was just, but they'll say that I'm crazy. So when I start talking about my mom, her faults, I'll talk about her faults, and she doesn't get mad because she figures people will look at me and think I'm crazy. But if you study the Bible, you start understanding that these things could happen. And when it says in Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 10 through 13, it tells you about the things that are detestable to Jehovah. It tells you about these things that are detestable to Jehovah, and what you shouldn't do. You should prove yourself blameless from Jehovah your God. I'll get that scripture right quick. I should have had it done because I know it's let's see. Where is it? Deuteronomy 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 uh no, this is Numbers. Numbers. Let me see. Deuteronomy. Here it is. Deuteronomy 18. Deuteronomy 18. Deuteronomy 18. 16, 15, 17. Here it is. Deuteronomy 18. It says right here, it says, there should not be found in anyone who makes his son or daughter pass through the fire, anyone who employs divination, anyone practicing magic, anyone looking for omens, or a sorcerer, anyone who looks for omens or a sorcerer, anyone binding others with a spell, anyone who consults a spirit medium or a fortune teller, or anyone who inquires of the dead. For whoever does these things is detestable to Jehovah, and on account of these detestable practices, Jehovah your God is driving them away from before you. You should prove yourselves blameless before Jehovah your God. Your God. So that's what that says in the New Translation, in this Bible, in the New World Translation of the Holy Scriptures. It's a very good, easy Bible to read and listen to because it's in modern English, like you hear. You could see that it was in modern English. So I love to read the Bible, and now I used to hate to read, but now that I can see that I can pray to Jehovah and ask for things I want, and I can get it through Jesus Christ's name. As long as it's in line with His will, I can get what I want. And there's many people that have powers, and they've turned on Jehovah, and they have the powers gone again. The Bible says, do not lean on your own understanding. That's when it comes to teaching the truth. But still, those people that lean on their understanding and do things with messing with the Bible, make people think different things of the Bible, that's not right. That's adding or subtracting. And Jehovah told us not to do that in Revelation chapter 22, verse, I forgot what verse it is, but 22, chapter 22, the last chapter of the Bible, the last book of the Bible. In Revelation, it tells us that. Okay, so that's all I have to say now. I don't want it to go too long. Bye.